So, what if your words could literally shape your reality? I mean, what if they could build the world around you? Today on The Explainer, we're stepping inside a service at Salvation Ministries to break down a really powerful belief system where, speech is everything. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with why everything in this service feels so high stakes. Then we'll get into the core practice, this idea of speaking words into being. From there, we'll see how that turns into a weapon for what they call spiritual warfare. Then we'll look at the proof, right? The miracle testimonies. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the power of prophecy. So yeah, let's dive in. All right, so the first thing you need to grasp is that at the absolute heart of this service is one incredibly high stakes idea. And it's this: you're not just living in reality, you are actively creating it. And this single quote from the sermon, it's the key to everything. I mean, everything else we're about to look at, every single prayer, every claim of healing, it all rests on this one foundational belief. Okay, so let's follow that logic. If your words really do control your life, what's the next step? Well, it means the most important, most powerful thing you can possibly do is to literally speak your desired reality into existence. And here's the kicker. The sermon makes it super clear that just believing something, well, that's not enough. Faith is considered incomplete, it's not even activated until you say it out loud. And this is what that actually sounds like in practice. You'll notice the prayers aren't really requests, they're declarations. They're statements of victory over any obstacle you can imagine. And you see this same logic applied directly to money, to finances. In this framework, poverty isn't just a circumstance you're in, it's a condition you can change by declaring wealth. The speaker's adamant, saying if they don't say it, it's just not going to happen. It's the exact same thing for physical health. Sickness isn't something you pray about, it's something you command. You speak directly to your body and declare that you're healed. So look, it all boils down to this really simple but powerful three-step process. First, you have to believe it. Then you have to speak it. And only then will you actually see it. This right here, this is the engine that drives the entire service. But it's not just about creating your own personal reality. These spoken declarations are also seen as something else, as powerful weapons in a spiritual war that's happening right now. And we're not talking about some vague, abstract kind of conflict. Oh no, the prayers are aimed at very specific enemies. So the question is, who exactly are these adversaries? Wow, okay, as you can see, this list is pretty extensive. It's incredibly broad. It covers everything from the supernatural, Satan, his agents, witches, all the way to very real physical threats like robbers, kidnappers, assassins, and even political thugs. And this quote really ties it all together. It draws a direct line between someone being vulnerable to attack and them, well, just not opening their mouth. Your words are your defense. Okay, so you've got the theory, you've got the practice of spiritual warfare, but where's the proof? Well, a huge part of the service is dedicated to exactly that, sharing testimonies. These stories are presented as the evidence that this whole thing actually works. Let's look at one example. This testimony kicks off with just a number, 14. For 14 years, a family had been driving the same old car. So the person testifying says they heard another story just like theirs, and they decided to, in their words, key in. That means they basically aligned their own faith with what they just heard. And the result? Just 2 weeks later, they were gifted a brand new car. Just like that. And the claims get really dramatic. We're talking about everything from being cured of fever, blurry vision, and even chronic long-term illnesses, to walking away from serious car accidents without a scratch. And then there are claims of instantaneous miracles right there in the service, like people being healed of deafness that they've had for years. So you can see why these stories are so crucial, right? They're not just shared as feel-good anecdotes. They function as the proof. They're presented as data points that reinforce that core belief. Speaking in faith gets tangible results. Okay, so finally, let's tie all of this together. You've got the words, you've got the faith, you've got the results from the testimonies, and it all comes together under this big idea that every single believer can and should prophesy their own future. And this line from the sermon just nails the whole philosophy. It's not that your speech reflects your destiny, it creates it. So if you talk like a peasant, well, you're pretty much guaranteeing you'll stay one. So the teaching draws this really clear, hard line in the sand. On one side, you have peasant talk. That's when you focus on your current negative situation, saying things like, I'm so broke. But on the other side, you have kingdom talk. And that's all about speaking your desired faith-based future, saying, I am blessed, even if your bank account says otherwise. So when you boil it all down, the central message of this service is really a radical call to action. It's teaching that you're not supposed to be a passive victim of your circumstances. No, you're meant to be the active architect of your own life. And your words, they're your primary tool. And that really brings us to the core question that this whole explainer leaves you with. Whether you believe words have this kind of supernatural power or not, the idea itself forces you to ask a pretty powerful question. If your words create your reality, what reality are you creating with yours?